I have not one, not two, but three pieces of breaking news to bring you this morning, August 25th, 2026. It is Tuesday, it's early in the week, but we heard something from Six Flags St. Louis yesterday that has gotten a lot of people talking. I'll touch on that first, and then I'll talk about Werewolf Gorge breaking ground, because it's happening, guys. I'm going to talk to you about that next, after St. Louis, and then the biggest piece of news is that Six Flags is moving their headquarters from Charlotte, North Carolina to Arlington, Texas, and it's got a lot of people talking, theorizing, spreading rumors. I'm not going to give an opinion about the rumors, but I'm going to tell you what a lot of people are saying could be happening in the not-so-distant future. So let's start with Six Flags St. Louis. They put out a little teaser video yesterday on Monday, August 24th, and it basically says that a new story is beginning August 27th. That is just 2 days away on Thursday. If you read the comments on this, on any post that they have made on any social media platform, 80 to 90% of people are saying they really want Air Force One to be relocated to Six Flags St. Louis. And I feel like that's less likely here. I think the most likely thing that is about to happen for this park is a name change. I think they're going to drop the Six Flags name and name it instead Mid-America. That has been a rumor for a long time. And if you look at the teaser video, they do pan across the actual front signage of the park where it says Six Flags in big letters. I feel like that's the biggest hint there. So stay tuned to Six Flags St. Louis on Thursday for some exciting announcement. The second thing to talk about is Werewolf Gorge, because I got confirmation today from Six Flags that they are breaking ground tomorrow, Wednesday, August 26th. There's going to be a lot of media coverage of that event, that groundbreaking ceremony, and I'm happy to report that I will be bringing you coverage as well. So make sure you subscribe. You're going to see a video tomorrow on Wednesday of the groundbreaking ceremony, and stay tuned to your cell phones and wherever you get notifications, because there's going to be some other people there reporting it. I'll remind you at the end of this video. But now on to the biggest thing. News broke this morning on Tuesday that Six Flags is going to be relocating their headquarters, their corporate offices, from Charlotte, North Carolina, next to Carowinds, to Arlington, Texas, basically across the street from Six Flags Over Texas. And here's a little bit of what was said in the press release. StreetInsider.com reported that this transition is expected to be completed by March of 2027. So that gives them a good amount of time to move people across the country. It says that Arlington's Choctaw Stadium has served as the corporate office since 2020 and currently houses a portion of its corporate workforce. President and CEO of Six Flags, John Riley, went on to talk about this move being necessary because they want Arlington to be a primary hub for corporate leadership, but more specifically, it sounded like he wants stronger relationship between the managers in the parks and the higher level leadership in the corporate offices. Those two things are now going to be closer together. So he said, quote, "After an extensive review, we determined that concentrating our personnel, processes, and decision-making in our Arlington office, where a portion of Six Flags corporate employees are located, is the best path forward for the company," end quote. And at the very end of this short article, it does say that Six Flags will maintain a presence in Charlotte, as well as Sandusky, Ohio. So there was always an office for Cedar Fair in Sandusky, Ohio, near or at Cedar Point, and they relocated much of that to Charlotte. And now they're relocating Charlotte to Arlington, Texas. But those other two offices, it sounds like, will remain in some limited capacity. Now, I went on to find another lengthy quote from John Riley. So here is some more of what he said. Quote, "Arlington is an outstanding location for our headquarters and supports our long-term vision for growth. Its central location and business-friendly environment make it a strong base for our company. We are grateful to the City of Arlington and local leaders for their partnership and support, and we are committed to contributing to the community's growth and success. Arlington is a vibrant entertainment district where the Six Flags story began, with our office just next door to Six Flags Over Texas, one of our premier parks. We enable our leadership to have a meaningful on-the-ground presence at the park and greater connectivity to all 5 of our Texas properties. We are deeply grateful to our Charlotte-based and shared services team members whose dedication, passion, and expertise have helped shape our company. Their contributions have been invaluable, and we are committed to supporting them throughout this transition with respect, transparency, and care. Many team members will have the opportunity to relocate to Arlington and continue helping drive our success into the future. End quote. So from this, it sounds like they're not forcing everyone from Charlotte to go to Arlington. Now, as you can imagine, websites like Reddit immediately shared this story and comments started flooding in. And there was one in particular that was very interesting. And I should say, we don't know exactly who this person is. They're claiming that they are a former Six Flags employee. So I don't know if this is true, so I'm just going to put on the screen that this is just a rumor. But this is according to user Fat Deepness. Quote, ex-Cedar Fair / Six Flags corporate employee here. They told the Charlotte office some will be extended an invite to move to Texas and others won't, and will be separated from employment, ... But they won't find out till next week. End quote. That is obviously not the best news to hear. I don't wish that for anyone to be separated from employment just because they don't wish to move across the country. That's tough. But there is a much crazier thing that was said in this screenshot that has got a lot of people talking. So if I scroll down, the same user said, quote, when the new CEO took over, he stated that he wants to move operations closer to the park level, plus corporate employees were renamed Park Support Services. They are 100% gutting corporate to prepare for a PE takeover, end quote. This is the craziest thing of all. PE is private equity. A lot of people began, as you see in the comment under this from Mr_WAJ, they mentioned that United Parks was taken over by private equity. And a lot of people commented that the quality of those theme parks went downhill. So people are now afraid that the same could be happening with Six Flags. And I'm not here to speculate on that. That's something I have no knowledge of whatsoever. But very interesting that this former corporate employee is implying that Six Flags might sell to a private equity firm. And they go on to say, that same user again said, the private equity firm working with Travis Kelce, I think they are Jana, ? They will take it over at some point. People don't really understand what this means, but to put it in perspective, think back prior to merger, where the Six Flags Parks subcontracted ride repair, and he goes on to talk about something else that Six Flags was doing. Now, I was working for Six Flags when the merger was announced. Like, I started working at Six Flags Fiesta Texas before the merger was ever made public. And then I was there when it was, and we had some meetings with corporate in Arlington, Texas, and that was very cool. But what he's talking about here, I know nothing about. When he talks about subcontracting ride repair, I never saw any of that. We got different pieces of equipment like generators or genie lifts from other companies, but sometimes those were purchased by the park. Instead of renting them, it was actually cheaper to just buy them out and keep them in storage when we didn't need them, but we still owned them and did not have to pay a weekly or monthly fee. But as far as ride mechanics go, we were mostly full-time ride mechanics, and we did the repairs on the rides, or the electricians did. It really depended on what it was. So interesting that they bring up Jana Partners here. I don't know what the future holds as far as them taking stuff over. I'm not going to speculate on it. But like I said, there's a lot of comments out there after this news came about of Six Flags relocating their corporate headquarters to Arlington, Texas. And I don't feel one way or another about it, good or bad. I think this is just business right now. I do think it makes sense for a lot of places to relocate to Texas. We've been seeing that over the course of especially the last 5 years since COVID ended. But we know there's no state income tax here, and that is appealing to a lot of people. But for businesses, they also see kind of a year-round economy here. We don't have a hard winter. We have a really soft winter. Of course, up in Arlington, it does snow, But down here in San Antonio and also in Houston, where I grew up, we have very light winters. It's very easy to just do business like normal all 12 months out of the year. And I do want to give a shout out to Thrill Nerds, who made an awesome video about regional theme parks taking over Texas, because it is a great place for theme parks right now. Coda Land is going to open, but we also had Universal Kids Resort open, and there was a Peppa Pig theme park that also opened up there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And if you look at the triangle that connects Dallas-Fort Worth down to Houston, over to San Antonio, and then up through Austin back to Dallas-Fort Worth, that triangle alone could support most countries. This is an amazing place to be. And I do want to say that this move by Six Flags does reaffirm their commitment to Six Flags Over Texas. That place one day is going to return to that elite status. They are making improvements day by day there. It's really exciting to see. So one thing another person brought up was the traveling. They said, well, Charlotte is a hub for travel. The park up there, Carowinds, is next to the airport. I do want to let you know that both Charlotte and DFW airports are American Airlines hubs. So they both have that amazing advantage. The company is not losing that advantage by moving out of there. But I also want to say that when the merger was happening and I was working at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, I always assumed that corporate for the new mega chain was going to be in Arlington. And I thought it had already taken over Charlotte, but I was wrong. Only now are we learning that Arlington is going to swallow most of Charlotte. I thought that had already happened 2 or 3 years ago, but it did not. So that Choctaw Stadium place is literally across the street from Over Texas. It used to be where the Texas Rangers played baseball. And it said in one of these articles that Six Flags took up office space in that building to make it their headquarters around 2020. And what's really interesting with all of this business shuffling that's going on is I keep seeing 2 addresses pop up for Six Flags, but they're not the same company. We've seen a lot of this Delaware address pop up when certain things are filed, like trademarks, like with Bakunawa. We saw this trademark that said Six Flags Corporate Delaware. I don't know what the real address is, and I don't know what kind of offices are there, but when I see filings for Fiesta Texas specifically, I see this address, and that is a city near Dallas-Fort Worth. But if you notice, they never use the actual Six Flags name. Instead, it is Fiesta Texas theme park. It's just kind of weird to me that we keep seeing different names for what appears to be the same company, and different addresses as well. Just interesting. It seems like there's a lot of moving pieces here, but I do think that this is going to go the way that Six Flags wants it. They want to put a lot of their people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area next to the original Six Flags park, and it does mean that they are now a little bit closer to Knott's Berry Farm and Magic Mountain on the West Coast. They're more centrally located now in the grand scheme of their full portfolio, so that is really cool to see. But anyway, that's all for that one. And again, Werewolf Gorge is breaking ground tomorrow on Wednesday, August 26th. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, or if you predominantly like to follow along on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, follow me on there. Or if you love X, I'm also on that platform. I'll be on Reddit as well. So make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow. I will have the groundbreaking ceremony for you and maybe an interview or 2 regarding Werewolf Gorge at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. If you want to know what happened to Kid Flash, watch this video right here. If you want to see my latest update where Superman was removed from the loop in the park just this past weekend, watch this video right here. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.